Hey everyone, here we are on Sunday with our writing video. What are we going to talk about today? In this one, our fifth. I don't know if it's nice where y'all live, but here in Texas where I live, it is such a beautiful day today. So I'm going to do this video quickly so I can go back outside and enjoy it a little bit longer before the day is over, because it is literally the prettiest day of the year so far. So what are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about how to make writing a part of your everyday life. Writing needs to become something that you have some kind of routine and habit around, something that it becomes as natural to you as like brushing your teeth. You want it to be something that just you always do each day. So I'm going to give you four kind of overall tips to do that, and then some strategies with each as well, like how practical ways you can actually do the tips. So the first thing, how do you make writing a part of your everyday life? Well, the first tip is pretty much the ultimate no-brainer. You write every day. If you can't be a writer if you don't write. So it's important that you set aside a chunk of time in your life each day to devote towards your writing goals. Now, and it is important that you have a routine and a habit around it. But what I don't want you to do is be so rigid about it, or that where you say, my goal today is X number of words, or I'm always going to write every day at 6 a.m. Now, if having that kind of structure helps you, by all means do it. I find that to be something that rigid is intimidating to me, and it just my natural rebellion kicks in and I'm not going to do it. So I don't get that granular with it. Plus, life happens. Like, you've had a bad day at work, or you come home and your dog's sick, or your kid needs brownies for the bake sale at school you didn't know about until right that moment, right? Legitimate things happen. Life happens. So I don't like to have something that kind of sets you up for failure, and I feel rigid goals do that. So I don't set those kind of goals. What I do is I do have a routine. When I sit down to write for the day, whatever time of day it is that I do it, I go back over and read what I wrote the day before. I correct any typos or grammatical errors, anything super noticeable, I go ahead and take care of, and then I move on. It gets me back into the mindset of where I was in the story, and then I move on from it. So that's my first tip, is making sure you write every day. Pretty easy, right? So the second tip I have is to try to keep writing fun. It ain't always fun, Sometimes writing is work, and you come to a hard spot in your story, or it just becomes, sometimes you're like, it's really easy to say to yourself, I could be like binge watching Snapped right now, or clearing my DVR of all those Dancing with the Star episodes and be perfectly happy. So how do you make writing something that you want to do instead of something that you feel like you have to do? And the best way to do that is to, make it fun. So here's a couple ways that I find that I can keep writing fun and fresh for me. I'm always working on at least, I'm sorry, I keep switching back and forth today. I'm always trying to work on a couple different projects at once. That way, when you inevitably get to that point where maybe you have a plot problem you need to resolve, or you've written yourself into a corner and you don't know what to do, you need to marinate it on it for a few days, you don't want to lose the momentum you've had by doing all this writing. So if you have a secondary project that you can start working on, hopefully it's something like totally different. It just gives you that break. You can keep writing, but you can kind of get that spark and energy back, because it's something that you're not struggling with like you were on your main project. Second tip I have in that vein is to use writing prompts. If you're just stuck and you can't think of anything to do and you're really struggling, writing prompts are just fun. They're just silly. My writers group, we use these all the time. You can just Google them. There's tons of them out there. We'll do a round robin story where one of us will start it and it'll pass through each one of us, and we each kind of take our own unique spin on it, and it becomes so ridiculous and full of inside jokes that you're just creating for the joy of creating. I find that's great. Sometimes we'll assign each other writing tasks. If we feel like we're not being super productive or we're not turning in, we take a step back and try to do something fun to regain that joy in writing. And that leads me to my third tip, which is to have a creative outlet outside of writing. I think there's a couple important reasons to do this. And it can be anything. For me, the creative thing I like to do outside of writing is cooking. And I just do it because I like it. And writing has a lot of pressure associated with it for me. I like it to be really good. I want it to be as perfect as it can always be. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself. Cooking, I'm not a chef. If I burn it, who cares? I mean, at least I tried it, and maybe I'll try it again, or maybe I learned something from it, or maybe not. But it was something I created just for the joy of creating. And it reminds me why I love to be a creative person and to get in tap with that energy. And it can be anything. Like maybe you like to paint or sculpt, or maybe you like to garden, or woodwork. Whatever it is that you enjoy, you're creating for the joy of it. And that's a great thing. And it reminds you why you're doing this. So that's the first reason why I think it's important. The second reason is a little more pragmatic, right? I think it's important to do because then you have something that you can just consider a hobby. Cooking is a hobby for me. It's a creative hobby, but I'm not trying to monetize it. I'm just having fun with it. And it allows me to take writing a little more seriously. Still keeping it fresh, still keeping it fun, but it's something I pursue with a lot more drive than I do cooking or whatever your creative outlet could be. Now we'll go on to my fourth tip to keep writing in your life every day, and that is to set yourself goals. Short and long term. They need to be challenging. They need to be attainable also. Maybe your goal for the week is to finish the scene or chapter that you've been struggling with. Maybe your goal for the month is to, plot out your whole piece. Maybe your goal for the year is to get that draft done. Whatever it is, set goals that you can do, but you have to push and challenge yourself to do it. And then here's the best part of it. You get to reward yourself at the end. I'll tell you, every time I finish a big writing goal, like a big goal, I buy myself a ridiculously expensive handbag, and I don't feel the least bit bad about it because I've earned it, because I pushed myself and I've created something and I've done something that I am proud of, and I deserve that bag. And I'll tell you something, it makes me write when I don't want to, because I usually want the bag as much as I want to finish the project. So find something that you really want to do, a big goal, and then give yourself a big reward at the end of it. Maybe it's a vacation. Maybe it's for me, it's always going to be something clothing related, but maybe it's, a really nice concert out of town. Whatever it is, give yourself a reason to reach for that goal. So there you go. Those are my 4 tips for making writing a part of your life every day. I hope these videos are helpful. I hope you had a good week with writing last week. I hope you push towards your goals this week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Thanks. Bye.